We are hot. We are live. You ready for this?
Ready for this.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Kelly Brewer Show. I appreciate y'all being here. Today we have Miss Brittany DeLaGarza from Harvest House Ministry. She has quite a story to tell, and so hold on to your seats. But let me introduce her a little bit. So Brittany is a Texan native. Okay, that's cool. Avid advocate for the anti-trafficking movement. Okay, take a minute to digest that. All right. She has previously worked for the Museum of the Gulf Coast and CASA. Brittany loves serving her community and working in the education sector. Lived in Southeast Texas for 6 years, building connections with other leaders and organizations working to better our region. We can't get enough of those. We do not have enough. Brittany has been with Harvest House for the past year, channeling her efforts towards outreach and prevention education for our community schools, businesses, and organizations. She loves taking road trips, volunteering, and gardening in her free time. Well, we have that in common.
Okay, green thumb.
Yes. Yeah, I've just planted my first garden.
Herb garden or
this
just
year.
the regular
Just
garden?
everything, just whatever I had. And I think I might have planted too because of the things.
Well, that means it's
overflowing.
happy, so.
It's happy.
Yeah.
It likes being here.
Yes.
That's good. Okay, so where do we start? I mean, it's a pretty complex issue. Basically, you are here to discuss, human trafficking, obviously, and then, but specifically your experience with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What can we learn from you and what you've already been through, just since you've been there?
Definitely. With me being over the education department with Harvest House, I have seen firsthand what our students and our community is facing. We have, unfortunately, a trafficking problem that with the work of us and many other organizations, we are going to work to end it, but we are also going to work to prevent it, because that is a big part of this. Prevention is how we are going to keep our future generations safe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty lofty goal.
It is.
And prevention, obviously, is worth a pound of cure. So,
Yes.
I'm struck just right off the bat. I'm struck. How do you prevent?
Exactly. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. How do you prevent something like that?
So specifically, prevent what?
Exactly. Prevent trafficking. So we want to prevent trafficking at a very young age, because we have adult people who are trafficked, but that is more likely due to them have been trafficked when they were younger. And so if we can catch that at an earlier age through prevention and education in the schools, then we're going to be able to give them the tools they need to, when they're faced with these adults that are trying to exploit them, they're going to have these tools of, I can say no, I can block this person, I can tell my parents because they're going to listen to what I have to say. These are the tools that seem very, very small, but our kids need that because they are taught to respect adults, and that is great. But with that, often they are stuck sometimes feeling like they are not able to say no to adults, which they should be able to say no to, like wrong things that may be happening.
Where do you meet these young people? How do you come in contact with them?
Yeah, so our organization works with pretty much every school district in Southeast Texas. So we are working with Beaumont ISD, Port Arthur, private schools, Bob Hope. We've gone as far as Colmsnail. We are all over Southeast Texas trying to get these schools to implement prevention.
So somebody has to literally go to the school, each school. I mean, seriously?
So we
how
have
does that
schools that reach out, but I will go and give presentations, and it's all scheduled out, so it's nothing that is impossible to do. But we are going to go to every school that we can and every classroom that we can, because that's what it's going to take.
I mean, yeah, and you can't stop because new kids every year.
Yeah.
You say that, and I can remember way back. I don't know if it was a class or maybe we had to go to the cafeteria one
Yeah.
time, but I remember there was a policeman would come in, and they called him Officer Friendly. We'd have a coloring book and stuff like that, and he never looked like the guy in the coloring book, but he was a policeman, and
Yeah.
I remember him saying one time, don't accept candy from strangers, do this kind of thing, and if I'm sure enough. Classic. I was riding my bike down the sidewalk one time, and a guy drove past me. Hey, little kid, you want some candy?
Yeah.
And if I hadn't heard that just one-time message, it freaked me out. So I took off.
And that is like the basic construct of how traffickers work too. They are offering something enticing.
Right.
They're trying to entice these kids. So candy is now get famous, find love. Get new clothes, get food, get shelter, get money. Now this is what they're offering because there's just so many different needs our kids have nowadays that sometimes aren't being met.
Get famous, huh?
Yeah, we have TikTok influencers sometimes that will also exploit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see a pushback against TikTok. Do you think that's a good thing or?
So I'm conflicted because I've seen the constructive sides of TikTok, but I've also seen the destructive sides of TikTok. We go to something every year called Crimes Against Children in Dallas. We work with FBI agents, other commercially sexually exploited youth centers that come together. We discuss the different things that are happening. And we also will talk about trends, social media. Meta was there. So they were there. They were representatives, TikTok representatives, talking about how, as parents and even as kids, are we able to put in more protective features, more technology that can detect different explicit things. And so it's kind of sad we need that, but at the same time, it's almost impossible to completely stop a youth from accessing the internet or accessing a phone. So you got to be realistic.
Pandora's box has been opened on that one.
And can't we shut it?
So you have a multi-pronged approach, it sounds like, and it sounds like you're pretty well thought out. So you're the one that actually goes to the school?
Yes.
And you've got like a slideshow or you're the officer friendly now these days?
I think what makes me in a different kind of position is that because I am not, just like an older person that, looks like your typical like teacher setting. We're not just doing slides after slides. Like, I enjoy like getting down to their level, being real with them, not scaring them, but giving them like the tough information that maybe they're not hearing from their parents or school or things like that. And talking about the realistic things. Like I try to even talk about like if you have shared a nude video or nude picture, because if they've done it probably, we have to be real, that there's a way to get that permanently removed from the internet.
Yeah.
So they have technology that can do that because child pornography can't be on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, you've already blown my mind. Just the avenues that are available to the dark side, So
Unfortunately, but we have to be just as smart because traffickers unfortunately are smart.
God, it's terrible. Do you see an increase since you've been there, or the ones that you're working with? What do they describe their experience?
So a lot of our kids have the story of that they were trafficked by family members.
God, the worst.
We have had some that were in love with their trafficker. We have some that thought they were going to marry their trafficker. I mean, these are adults that have a control over them, that they have groomed and manipulated their minds to whatever it is that they want them to be. That's what the child becomes.
Yeah, pimp culture,
pimp culture.
I heard you say one time.
Yes.
Man, that is so crazy. That is just crazy. But so one thing I really am curious about, especially for this show, is your personal experience.
Yeah.
And how you've already probably changed or in your mind evolved already. I mean, describe that?
Right. So I have served nonprofits for like the past 6 years. So like being involved in the community, like seeing the needs that are there was very eye-opening. But when I got into the anti-trafficking side of it, there's just so many lack of resources and so many basically holes to fill that people are needing to put themselves in places that they can be a benefit to their community, where the money that's being made in our community is staying within our community to fund these kinds of things. Nonprofits are massively underfunded. We all know that, but especially the ones that are doing the social work, they're so massively underfunded. So getting to see that side of how we can be resourceful, how we can help kids at every age group, every level, get them resources, that's been one of my passions, and I enjoy it. But I've seen myself change and grow from having an outlook that maybe were these lofty goals of we're going to do this and change the world. And I think that what this has taught me is that we're trying to change the small things on the individual level.
One on one.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Yeah. So that has been a big eye-opening thing for me because I'm very ambitious. That kind of bleeds into my work. And so, I have to make sure that we're pacing ourselves and that the one person that we can help, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many schools or presentations have you given, and has that evolved? Surely that's already evolved.
Oh, man. That has evolved a lot. I will say that for the past couple months for our 2023 year, I've done, I believe, 70 plus presentations or community things.
It's a lot.
And it's a lot because I think we typically were around the 50, 60 range. And so we have surpassed that, and we are in April. So, but we've also seen the community reaching out more.
Yeah.
And we had such a big event for like National Human Trafficking Awareness, sexual assault awareness, child abuse awareness, all these awareness events each month. We are always trying to talk about, get the social medias going, because the community really can get distracted by so many different things, right? Like we just had the eclipse, but like we still need to be like, hello, it is still, things are still happening. This is the reality of our community.
But it's just something people don't want to think about.
Unfortunately, no.
Right. So that's a tough job of, you're raising awareness, but people, they don't want to be aware because there's already so many bad things, I guess, happening that.
And I think that's where we come in with our positive stories. Like we see our kids grow. We see them come in and they may have many emotional brokenness.
Kids, okay, now describe that a little bit. So how does a kid come into your system?
Yeah.
And then kind of walk us through, say, a day in the life.
Okay. So a typical day for like one of our advocates, whenever they do get dispatched to help a child, law enforcement usually will contact us and we get dispatched to wherever they are, usually the hospital. So an advocate will go to the hospital. They're immediately put into a SANE exam. So that is a sexual assault forensic exam to gather evidence after whatever has happened. And our advocates are with them, holding their hand, in the room with them while the exam is going on if they wish, because again, we're not trying to force them into something they've already been forced into things. So the advocate is there to be in whatever capacity they want. If they want clothes, if they need food, if they need toiletries, they're going to give them those things. So we want to provide for their basic needs at the very beginning, because that's how you regulate yourself. These kids are so dysregulated emotionally. They're in a fight or flight mode. And so our advocate comes in as a safe person, just as a friend, someone to help them. And so that connection from the beginning is how we build these lasting relationships with these kids.
And I would imagine you would, well, I don't know. I can't predict this, but do you see the same ones pretty over and over?
So,
or are you all able to steer them out of this situation?
Right. So we can help kids up until they're 22. So what that means is sometimes they will stay with us from a younger age, for many years.
Stay with you, like be in contact?
Stay in our services. Yeah. So like if they require a visit every week or every other week, they may do that for several years, just depending.
They'll go to their house?
They'll go to their house. They'll pick them up. They'll take them to the park, movie, to the mall. They will take them to practice, like kind of like that second addition to the family. Like our advocates become like that. But it's just a whole process that you have to be in to really experience what these kids are going through. And our advocates just get a peek into that world, and it is a lot. It is so heavy for them. So it's 10 times heavier for these children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are the advocates, so I can almost see like a Batman, Batgirl character sitting there waiting for the bat phone to go off. You've got a backpack sitting by the door, and she grabs it and goes to wherever.
Hey, pretty accurate. I wish we had like a bat signal.
Yeah.
But no, the law enforcement knows to call us when it's a situation. And so we have a 24/7 on-call number that someone's going to answer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so it may not always go to the same advocate because we take, shifts for that.
Yeah.
We don't want them working too much.
Right.
But they know when they are to be dispatched.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So you have a emergency response system.
We
then.
really do, yeah. We pretty much are an emergency response team. Our advocates are amazing. They get so much training. They bond together so much because sometimes they'll be at the hospitals till 2 or 3 in the morning. It's very unpredictable hours sometimes.
And then to have to follow up.
Yep.
For years.
Yes, and the first 72 hours that they are with them after being rescued is so intense because there's filing paperwork of, law enforcement wants information. They could be facing jail time. Sometimes law enforcement is not always transparent, and so we are working with them to get more transparent because you can't make promises to a kid when they come out of a thing like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then you're going all over, so there's different organizations you're having to face, and everybody has their own specific sort of way of handling it on their end.
Yep.
So.
We are a team.
Very complex.
Yes.
Very complex. And then you have somebody's freaking life in your hands almost,
Yeah.
And so are most of the advocates, as you say, female? Do you have any men? I mean, do you treat boys as well?
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's a great question. Our advocates are all women. Now, that is more due to most of the people that we serve, the kids we serve, that they are girls, just because that's how the numbers fall.
Right.
But we do end up having boys that need our services, and they're definitely experiencing trafficking.
Yeah.
What's happening is they're not reporting.
right.
We're not getting them to the services they need. And I'm sure we can all kind of figure out that guys are taught by culture and society that you have to be a man, you can't talk about feelings, all that stuff. And so, like, when I go into school, it's like we're like, encourage everyone. Like, you never know what the next person, next to you could be going through.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, describe you go into a school and I guess like a class will come in or?
So I've had everything from an auditorium of like 300 kids to like a one-on-one classroom of 20. It just depends on like what they're kind of working on, because sometimes they have like an awareness event, or they just want several classes to get training, or they have a class of kids that they are concerned about, because there's that too. They have some that are a little more at high risk, they consider. And what leads to a kid being at high risk is several factors, like homelessness, not both parents being home, or they're working a lot, or they're just in and out of the house, being exposed to, different kinds of home environments, abuse. Like, those are kind of some of the risk factors our kids face.
Yeah.
And the schools try to recognize, but you can't catch everything.
Right.
So that's where like the training comes in. They hopefully will hear about what trafficking is, how to report it, how to recognize if their friend is going through it, because like they are very accountable for each other. Like, I've had some kids like say like, hey, I think one of my friends is going through this. So like they will talk about things.
Yeah.
You just give them the space to do it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So you pick up tips since you're sort of out there. Then you're the, you're the eyes and ears.
Yeah.
And then you have to pass that on, I suppose. How do you? Oh my gosh.
Yes. So we try to give our kids realistic red flags, like what they should be looking for, because it looks different for every age group. But for kids specifically, they want things, right? They want things that will help them feel good about themselves. So we always talk about, like, if you see one of your friends with a ton of cash, or like a brand new purse, or a brand new gaming console, or they just got this tattoo but they're 15, like, we want them to question their friends, like, oh, like, where'd you get that tattoo? Where'd you get this new phone? Did your parents get that for you? Because traffickers are buying the phones, they're buying cars, they're paying college. Like, there's many different levels of what they're willing to give.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, okay, that means that there's a lot of money involved in all of this. And
Yeah.
so the traffickers are aggressively pursuing.
Yes, they are. And there's many different levels they'll pursue at, just depending, what they have as their resources. Some are just going to take them shopping. Some are going to buy them these expensive, extravagant gifts. But at each point, it's just to initiate this, I gave you something, now you owe me.
Owe me. There it
Yeah.
is. That's exactly right. So,
Yeah.
do you have a phone number if somebody could call?
Yes. Yes, we have our 24/7 on-call number. It is 409-790-0798. And we also have the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Just to kind of touch on that, that's like how you report trafficking if you're like not sure if it's an immediate emergency, because immediate emergency, like we are telling everyone, kids, parents, to call 911. Like if there is a situation that's dangerous, call 911. Otherwise, if you're like not too sure, didn't see too much, make an online report, or you can call. So the number for the National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888. And we can get that in a little format for y'all too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is the average age that you're talking to, or that you see this begin?
Yes.
Or
It begins much younger than people realize. So traffickers want to get kids when they're in that 10 to 12 range because of, puberty. There's a lot of different things that are happening, like growth. Kids are experiencing sex at a whole new level, like hearing about it. By that age, they probably may not even know what it is, just depending on like what level they're at. Some parents have had sex talks with them, some parents have not. And so that's not always a fault to the parents, but it's good to educate like at a young age. Middle school usually is where we want to fall in there. But we start our educations in middle school. So 6th grade and up, like we are giving age appropriate presentations for each grade, each level. High schoolers and seniors especially, like they kind of get the full blown picture. But when it's like the 6th graders, we do touch a little bit different on topics.
right. So do you
yeah.
have like an itinerary or a syllabus or something that the school has to sort of approve? I mean,
So some districts approve trafficking curriculum in their schools. And so Harvest House has like connections to where like, we are called in for student trainings. We don't do teacher trainings because that is another organization. Like Garth House is our child advocacy center for Southeast Texas, and they're the ones that do like forensic interviews. So whenever a child is being abused, they will have like an interview one-on-one with them to, have their story told. We don't work with that, but they will do the teacher training. So like we kind of work together. We're part of this care coordination team. If you want to imagine like a wheel, like we are in this wheel along with law enforcement, local hospitals, probation, and Garth House is kind of like our care coordinator that will assign different things to different organizations. And we specifically are with child trafficking.
I got you.
Yeah.
Who's the head of your outfit there?
Great woman. Her name is Lisa Bowler. She is amazing. She founded Harvest House in 2014. But she had, for many years before that, been doing all this research about trafficking. She had a passion for the youth in our community that was experiencing it that there was no services for.
Zero.
Yeah. And even, back in the 90s, a lot of people still referred to child prostitutes, and that's completely wrong. Like, a child never chooses to be a prostitute. That's not possible. Like, they are all being trafficked. And so changing that terminology and getting everyone up to speed, like, hey, like, these kids, they're not choosing this. This is the trafficker, the adult that is grooming them. And so Lisa's been very much on the forefront of, like, we need to learn the proper terminology. We need to learn the signs. We need to be reporting. And she's gotten a whole community involved.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the gala a few months ago, and I saw people from all across the spectrum there.
Yes.
That was a good event.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Were you there?
I was there,
I
yeah.
probably
we didn't
walked
run
right
into each
past
other.
you. So, that's and there we saw that woman, Miss Solomon.
Yes.
I forget her first name.
Carla Solomon.
And she gave I've been trying to help Harvest House for years, but actually hearing somebody that has gone through it to that level, and like you said, I think she said she was 11 when it first hit.
She was very young.
but to have survived it, but I think we talked last time that the devil's going to regret activating that one because she is now a advocate on steroids.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about her, or kind of her experience? Because I mean, if somebody's watching who is in this situation,
Yeah.
you can, I don't want to say get revenge. I'm not going to say get revenge, but I'm saying you can help others out of this situation.
Right. Studies show that if you have gone through something similar to being abused or trafficked, that a part of that healing journey is facing and sometimes advocating for the other victims. And so, with Carla, I didn't get to talk to her too much, just kind of heard her story at the gala. But what I do know is that she had family that was there, but she never felt like there was a safe person there. She needed someone that could intervene for her, hold her hand through it, get her help. And that's the same thing we see in almost all of our survivors, is that there wasn't that person there
Right.
that they could reach out to.
Right.
And so when I go into schools, like, we're talking about who are safe people. Carla was very young when she first got trafficked. And then over her lifetime, we heard about her progression of being in a good place and then regressing, and being in a better place and going back. And then finally, a final moment of, now I am ready to be on this side of it, and now be an advocate. So like that journey that took her there, our survivors go through a very similar process. It takes 6 to 7 times for someone to leave their abuser.
Oh my gosh.
It's very similar for someone who is being trafficked, because they have that emotional manipulation from that person. And so there's this attachment that is very hard to break. It takes us working with them, being there if they have to come back. We're looking for them whenever they leave. We're checking in on them. And if they decide to come back, there's no judgment. A lot of other organizations are like, hey, you left, you don't want this anymore.
Oh, really? Wow.
But we are always like, open door, like, we're going to help you.
Right.
So I will say that, like, the one thing that Carla didn't have, and a lot of other people, was just that safe person. So if someone out there has experienced trafficking, or they're still going through it, like, please reach out for help, because it is there. Right. There are people who want to help.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just right next door, the person could be to help,
Yes.
But yes, don't be afraid to say something.
Yeah.
Because silence is violence.
So I always say that silence is the enemy to trafficking, because if you are not saying something, even as a person who's not being trafficked, but you've observed something that you were like, that was just, people being people. Yeah. Like, we are so dismissive. Even with children. I mean, I have heard an experience where kids weren't believed, women weren't believed when things happened to them, or men even. And like, we have to be willing to take a chance and believe people, because I don't know many people that want to say, hey, I've been trafficked for attention. That's not something people would usually do. Right. So, yeah.
Well, I went to a thing this weekend for the eclipse, and there was a guy passing out cards, and he had it was about a totally different subject, but his message was similar in that he was trying to encourage pastors to be, any Christian to be more brave, to step up and to push back against this, because you see it in your world, and then the pastors are seeing what their version in their world, and everybody, there's just like this force. I can't really describe it. It's almost a formless thing that's pushing on us.
That's true.
And it's hitting all of us on some level, and you just happen to be in, oh my gosh, I'm trying to find words to describe it and not be disparaging. I'm not being critical in any way, but I mean, it's just, some of them is just so awful, It
is.
And then how do you, I guess it's kind of like a doctor. He has to go in and cut somebody open, surgery, and I guess you get used to it. I don't know.
I think we're all of us who work in this field, that where we get our strength, where we get our bravery from, 2 things actually. One is God, but 2, all of these kids that go through this, They are, experiencing suffering because of it. There's a healing journey, but we have always seen how resilient they are, how they're always willing to still be an open hearted person, still be a kid sometimes. And allowing us to witness that is like an amazing part of this because they have shown us we have to be stronger to keep going forward with this because
Yeah.
they are. So, what's our excuse?
Right. Okay, so do you think you could give us some examples of, I mean, like specific stories of maybe a victory or a defeat, or the good
Yeah.
side, the bad side?
Yeah, I can do that. So we have a lot of different age groups, but I will say that a lot of our stories begin young, right? So there was an example of a young girl who lived in Jefferson County. She was 13, and she had been approached by a trafficker on Instagram. And so when she was telling this story, she was telling us that she trusted this person because he said he went to her school. That trust there that they try to build is always pretty much the same, no matter what scenario. And so she was dating this person in her head. Like she thought she was dating this person. She trusted this person, had sent, nude pictures, nude videos to this person. And then he eventually started asking her to sneak out. And she was only 13, living with her parents. So this opened my eyes to you can live with your parents, you can have a safe home, you can have a loving family, and traffickers will still find a way in. But this survivor was resilient, and now she's on her healing journey, and we're very happy for her. But
she was actually they got a hold
yeah.
of her and kidnapped her. Or?
So she ended up being trafficked in local hotels.
Oh my God.
So that doesn't mean they have to be kidnapped. Sometimes this is by choice to them, like they've taken a job or they're doing what the trafficker asked them, and it may seem like a choice, but it isn't a choice by that point.
Right.
But most of the time, what we're seeing is these kids are not being trafficked way out of state or far away. We're seeing them trafficked locally, even to Lake Charles. That's still out of state, but we're pretty much almost like neighbors. The casinos there, traffickers love taking them there, coming back. They still go to school on Monday. So
they're back home then.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is the traffickers, if they are living at home most of the time, they will bring them back so they can go to school on Monday.
I got you.
Because they are not wanting them to be noticed. They're wanting these things to be very down low, hard to recognize.
Right.
So a very similar thing we see is it's all very local. And it's local people who are purchasing.
Oh my God.
Local buyers. Our own community members are purchasing sex this way. And then sometimes they don't get caught. They go right back into society. We may not know who they are. And so they are the ones that we are almost against in a way because they can do something and then still go back into society. Traffickers will get caught. Buyers are sometimes not caught as often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea. I mean, it's just so subtle and insidious.
Yes. Very insidious.
So I always just imagine that they just get kidnapped and they're gone.
Yeah.
But no.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Liam Neeson, great movie, Taken. But these movies that we see, like Sound of Freedom, like a lot of people have seen that movie. They have been like on fire because of those movies. It invigorates people to do something, and that's what we want. Just direct that to local things that are happening because it's happening locally. Yeah.
So what was a success story?
Success story. So we have had a lot of kids that they get to a point where they want to share things with us. They want to have events with us. And so one of our girls, she had been trafficked when she was 10. And she got,
10?
yes.
Oh, my God.
And so unfortunately, she just had a very, very long process to getting services. So by the time we got her, she was already a teenager. And so one of the things of her healing journey was that she wanted to have a birthday party. And so this may seem very simple, and it may not seem like, wow, is this a success story? But because she advocated, wanted a birthday party, she told us what she wanted, she was willing to talk about what she wanted. We had our staff get together because she wanted to have a sand volleyball game. So these small things, like asking for a birthday party, asking for people to join you, to me, this is a success story because she was able to have a moment of happiness. That is success.
Yeah.
When they are able to open back up and have a moment of happiness, that is amazing.
Right.
It's like they've come alive. And so whenever we are able to do things with them and witness all of this, like it was amazing. So these are the things our staff looks forward to because we deal with so much heavy things. When we get those small moments of a birthday party, someone had a baby, like these things that we celebrate, it's just so rare that we have to appreciate each one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, they're not living
Yeah.
at your facility.
No.
They're still living at home, I guess,
Some-
or wherever.
Yeah, some may be
Foster
living at home, foster care. Yeah.
And then, but you go back and touch base with them once a week. I mean,
So we have a way of kind of like assessing what each one needs
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they don't come in a package. You know, they
Right.
all have a different need. So each kid may need a visit a week. They may need several visits a week. They may need a visit once a month, just depending on what level they're at. Now, that doesn't mean we're not working alongside to get them counseling or other services, access to certain things for school, participating in a sport. Like, we still encourage them and help them with all of those things. So it could be weekly, it could be every month. We just kind of gauge what they need.
right.
Yeah.
How many are working? You may not want to give that out. How many are advocates do you have? Because then the devil would know the size of your army. You know.
I will say that we are a pretty small staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would, if you wanted to become an advocate,
Uh-huh.
work with you guys?
Yes.
Just call one of those numbers, and there's a training process?
There is a whole training process, and you go through the most extensive background
Oh, I
check.
bet, yeah.
But we have to. So if you would like to see if we are hiring, you can go to our website. You can give us a call, or if you just want to volunteer, because we always need that too. And
This is a paid position?
so advocates are paid.
Yeah.
And like my position, a lot of other positions, they're paid. I'll volunteer though. They don't get to do the advocacy side of it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Volunteer, what do they do?
So
Anything.
I'm glad you asked that because it used to be that they would come help us at our thrift store, but we are closing our thrift store.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
So-
what it was.
Yeah, so we are opening
what
now.
was the name of it?
Catch My Thrift.
Catch My Thrift.
Yeah, but it's not a bad thing because we're opening a youth drop-in shelter. So it's going to be the first youth shelter in Southeast Texas, and we are going to be needing volunteers for all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hoping to wrap up the construction side of it by the end of this year. We're having a fundraiser to raise funds for this. So if you would like to know how you can help us do that, definitely go to our website.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the house that they've been working on for a while? The drop-in? You're calling it a drop-in?
So we're calling it a
Site.
drop-in center.
But nobody's, you keep your location secret, so.
Yes. So the logistics of how we're going to have that safety feature of not everyone knowing where it's at, I don't know quite yet. But I do know that what it will look like is that we'll have still that 24/7 call that they can access, and they can probably set up some sort of intake. There may be even a process of meeting people at certain places, so that way we're not disclosing our location. We're dedicated to keeping that still. So I don't know what that will look like in the future,
gotcha.
but we're going to figure something out.
Kind of back to, now it's the Bat Cave.
Yes.
Sort of. But it's just, y'all are superheroes, there's no
Yeah.
doubt.
We love it.
That's good. And so then it's all funded by donations.
Yeah, our community, our donations, our grants we get, like we are always trying to fit new grants in because every year costs go up.
Right.
So with our drop-in center coming up soon, like
Right.
we are trying to allot all the funds, make it fit, make it work. Yeah.
Okay, so you do get grants. So that's through the state, and do y'all have like a grant? Somebody just works on trying to get money from the different
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually have, her name is Hannah Moore, and she is our ACO. She's our assistant chief officer to Lisa. So basically, she's going to churches, going to organizations, telling people our story, and getting them to kind of direct their funds to help us out. And even with our fundraiser, like that's all her. Our gala, like that was her brainchild. So like she is our person going and finding these different things that can help us. So like she's amazing. We all have our roles. Her role is getting us money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do that.
Yes.
That's what you guys are leaders.
Yeah.
And really, that's kind of we're suffering for that, and that we don't have leaders on every level. That might be part of the long game of the enemy, is to discourage people to step up and do something.
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
that people are not as encouraged to do that anymore, and we need to get them
How are you activated? I mean,
how to.
you seem very passionate about this, and
Yeah.
how did it start? What happened?
I don't know. I guess if I had to place a moment, I hear a lot from my friends, but also within my own family history, there was poverty. There was people that were not able to get the help they need. There wasn't these kind of services back then, and within my own family story, there was just so much difficulty getting just basic needs sometimes. And so this was in the past, nothing to do with my life. But now, as this generation, I want to make sure that our future generations are getting what they need. They're getting education. They're getting access to the things that they are going to need to become adults that will become productive
Right.
and also loved people. Like they need all these different things. And so for me, like it's just a people thing. I love people, and I'm passionate about people and keeping kids specifically safe and happy and learning. Like that's something that I'm passionate about. So I don't have a specific moment to place. It's just always been in me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that means that God is at work,
Yeah.
because as the devils are born out there in the hearts of people, there are angels born.
Yeah.
And that's encouraging. I'm glad to see that. You really didn't talk about your the crawfish bowl.
Oh
coming
yeah,
up.
I didn't talk about that yet. I could if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
and this is is specifically a fundraiser,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And everybody loves crawfish.
Yes.
So
Okay.
tell us about that and the date, where it's going to be.
Awesome. So because we are fundraising for this drop-in center, there's a company called ASCO in Beaumont that they are really, really great about doing a fundraiser every year for organizations. They picked us this year, and we are so happy about that because it was perfect God timing for this drop-in center. And so we are fundraising. What that means, though, is that they are also matching every donation.
Really?
Small, big. We would love big donations, but we are working towards getting enough funding of up to $200,000 and more, possibly, to help us finish this construction.
Wow.
So we have a building already, but we need all kinds of different construction for different rooms. Because we're going to be housing kids, we have to have bathrooms. So
yeah.
like this is a full blown project, and so all the funds will go towards that. And we are already at a good starting point, but we just kind of need that last push. And so
Right.
that's what this is going to help us
Okay,
with.
good.
So we are getting different funders to come in, and they're matching those donations, so they double. This crawfish fundraiser is going to happen on May 9th. And so it's free crawfish and free drinks, but it's for the people that have donated.
Right.
So we encourage the community to donate to this. You can attend once you have. But it's really just something that's going to help us continue serving, but in a bigger capacity,
Right.
because this shelter is going to be a place of safety and refuge for the kids that need it. And we have to be able to finish this for them.
Have to.
We have to. There is no choice. And so our fundraiser is going to get us to that point. And we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's it going to be?
So it's going to be at ASCO's location.
Spell ASCO?
ASCO.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can get you the flyer so you can have the, the specific address
I've
on
got
there.
the flyer,
Yeah.
but it'd be in Beaumont, though,
In
right?
Beaumont,
In
yeah.
Beaumont. May 9th.
May 9th.
Is that a weekend? We're not sure.
It's a Thursday.
Anyway, just get your butts over there and help these people, help the kids. My gosh, for the kids, come on.
For the children.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I definitely sense from you that this is who you are, you know?
Yep. I don't even have a choice. I truly am on this path that I feel like I'm meant to be on. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow. You were chosen for this time and place.
I sure hope so.
Are you from Beaumont, or where are you from?
Not a Beaumont native. I'm from, I guess you would call it West Houston for some people, but it's a small town called Waller
Yeah.
near Tomball.
Yeah.
Grew up in the country. I love being outside. Like the outdoors is my thing.
Right.
So Southeast Texas, you know, it's just an extension of the country, right? We're just a little more southern
Pretty
out
much,
here.
yeah.
We got crawfish. We got places to fish. So like, I really enjoy it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. What drew you here?
Well, family initially, and then I got involved in the community, and it was just like, no choice since then.
There's some really good people here.
There really is.
I've met a lot of amazing characters.
Yes. We are a hardworking people out here, regardless of where you work. I've noticed that like Southeast Texas people, like they are so taking initiative on topics. They're working hard, and it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see a good heart
I see a good heart.
here and there.
I choose to see a good heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you. Okay, that's it. That's pretty good. So you're a philosopher as well, I can tell. So
I dabble.
okay, you dabble. We all dabble. That's funny. The point of this is to kind of get in, see what your paradigm shift is, but you really haven't had one in the sense that you've been there the whole time. You've
Yeah,
already.
I wish I
there
had
wasn't
like
a single an event already, but you just naturally.
Yeah, sorry. I wish I had
No,
that kind
no,
of
no.
story
I'm just
for you, but
surely God makes us all in different ways for different reasons. So most people that I know, and my experience has been, I had to get hit upside the head with a baseball bat to finally,
Yeah.
catch my snap. But you didn't require that. You've been on mission since you began. So there it is. All right.
yeah,
Well, if you don't have nothing else,
I think that might be it.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for
Yes,
coming.
thank you.
I think we did all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is. Harvest House Ministries. They're in Beaumont. We've got the number. I'm going to try to get a number across there. And we appreciate y'all's time hanging out. Like and subscribe. That helps me beat them algorithms. So, peace.